Welcome to the Daily Dose of Contact. You give us 12 minutes and 23 seconds and we'll give you the U.S. U.S. Oh my gosh!
Hello everybody, I am here live inside the White House to bring to you a special interview with our very own President Jefferson. President Jefferson, over the course of your presidency, you've instituted some policies that affected the size and scope of the United States federal government. Do you care to explain why you implemented these policies?
Yes, of course, Mr. Reporter Man. There were a lot of conflicts between the Federalists and my own party, the Democratic Republicans. We always argued over the interpretation of the Constitution, the excise taxes, and policies regarding assumption of debt. Naturally, though, the public saw just how crazy those Federalists were and voted for me, along with a majority of my fellow Democratic Republicans, into various federal offices. With this majority, we were able to accomplish so many of the things that we set out to do. Sadly, we did have to keep the Bank of the U.S., keep the stinky Federalists happy, but under Democratic-Republican leadership, we imposed many great policies to benefit our country, such as removing the dreaded excise taxes. We protected people while hurting France with the Embargo Act, and even doubled the size of our country with the Louisiana Purchase.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you just mentioned, you did acquire the Louisiana Territory from France. Now, this purchase was a demonstration of the loose interpretation of the Constitution by Federalists such as Alexander Hamilton or John Adams. Now, when you ran on a campaign of strict interpretation, so only things explicitly mentioned in the Constitution were allowed. Do you care to explain why you chose to abandon your beliefs?
Yes, well, of course it's something I'm not proud of, but it was necessary for the future of this country. My people in the West depend heavily on the ports in New Orleans. I would even go as far to say it's where the center of trade is. So, when Spain had closed our ports, it was a very big deal, and it scared my citizens half to death. I had to do something about this. I mean, not only was the economy at risk of declining tremendously, but there was a very big possibility that we would be getting entangled in conflicts with Spain, something I did not wish to happen. I take pride in my neutrality policies after all, and I strongly believe in staying away from all foreign entanglements. However, I had this great idea to prevent both issues. Originally, I had sent some of my men to France to offer around $10 million, I believe, for the entirety of New Orleans. But then all of a sudden, the French had offered us the entire Louisiana Territory. Shocking, I know. So much land for such a cheap price was a deal. So of course I had my men accept it. And yes, it doesn't explicitly say in the Constitution that a president can buy a foreign land. But for my country, I needed to make this purchase. It was for the good of us. I argue that adding land to the country is technically an application of the president's power to make treaties. And with this, I submitted the purchase to the Senate, and it quickly got approved. And good thing it did, because the country's prosperity skyrocketed after. We doubled in size, removed foreign presidents from our borders, and the Western Front extended far beyond the Mississippi River where it originally was. You could say another purpose, me getting a bit more popular. But the main thing is that what matters most is that this purchase protected my people. In fact, it benefited them so much.
Well, thank you for that reasoning, Mr. President. I can see why you would make that decision. Now, as you know, prior to your inauguration, Adams appointed many judges. One of them, William Marbury, sued for his commission, which had been blocked by your Secretary of State, James Madison, as you ordered him to do. Now, this court case went all the way up to the United States Supreme Court, where it was ruled that Marbury was owed his commission. Do you think that the judiciary branch should be given more or less federal power?
Well, our former president, John Adams, had a particularly weak Supreme Court throughout his term. At the end of his term, he appointed several midnight judges prior to my presidency. However, their commissions weren't approved by the time I made it into office. This caused the Marbury v. Madison case. Marbury would have gained his commission through the Judiciary Act that empowered the court far past what the Constitution stated. But at the end of this case, it was determined an unconstitutional law and was later terminated. This prevented Marbury from receiving his commission. Power in the judiciary branch is important to make sure that those who need justice or consequences have it. Yet too much power will lead to unconstitutional decisions against my people's liberties.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your opinion on that matter. But I have one last question for you. Are you sure you are the real Thomas Jefferson?
Of course I am. Are you the real Mr. Reporter Man? What kind of stupid question is that?
Yes, sir, I am. Now, over to Alex with the sports.
Ba-da-da, 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 da-da-da.
Well, that wraps up today's sports report. Over to Marco with the word on the street.
Hello there. I am here for your bright morning news. Talking to many about the political and economic state of our very great country, including a special segment teaching our country's plans for expansion and our current foreign tensions. Here we have a wandering traveler I found on the side of the road. Man, how have you seen trade and slavery take effect in all corners of our nation?
Hi, I'm a traveler. I've been all over the US of A and I've seen a thing or two. Let's see. People up north, they love their trading industry. A little too much sometimes. It's all about factories and a market. They prefer a strong federal government, protective tariffs, a national bank, anything really that'll help protect their money and keep their factories going on. Which is why they ain't very fond of cheap land in the West, which might cause their workers to pack up and leave. Oh, and also one more thing, don't mention slavery to them. It's a big no-no up there. They have no need for it up there, so watch it anybody. But, down south, it's a completely different world. Plantations all over, agriculture is the moment, and slavery, well, they do anything to keep it. They love quick and cheap labor and whatnot. Then people are big on states' rights. They ain't ever been too fond of the federal government because they scared it'll interfere with slavery. They ain't fond of a lot of things, actually. The national bank, tariffs, they hate tariffs. Makes their imported goods too expensive. But through all this, they will fight and fight to keep slavery alive, especially when adding new states during that Missouri Compromise or whatnot. Oh, and there's also the newly West, which is, it's a work in progress up there. Everything and everyone there is new. People down there are focused on one thing and one thing only, development. Whether it be economically, politically, socially, they really want to catch up to the rest of the country and have a voice too, People all over yonder want cheap land, easy credit from state banks, and all the transportation improvements they can get, like railroads, canals, anything honestly to help speed up the development progress. They tend to have swing opinions, They'll side with the North sometimes the South. It's always about who's giving them what they want that they need to grow. I respect it, honestly. But overall, I would say everyone's fighting for the what benefits them most, and it's creating some pretty big regional differences and even conflicts. Slavery. But I'm sure we'll figure it out, and it definitely won't cause an internal war or something. Yeah, I'm gonna go sleep under my chair now.
Okay, well, wow!
Go. Wait, no, actually.
Wow, what an informational hobo! It's great to know about our country's revolutionary politics and their effects across the country. Next up, we have Henry Clay on our economy and its controversy amongst the North, South, and West regions. Here he is.
So, as you guys know, I'm Henry Clay, and I have a plan to help America achieve the success everyone is hoping for. I intend on creating a second Bank of the U.S. to help stabilize the U.S. dollar after the War of 1812 caused some pretty nasty inflation issues, as well as instituting some protective tariffs to help secure the prosperity of our American businesses. Of course, though, all these reforms to our economy wouldn't mean anything if not for the trade that occurred within. I plan to use federal funding to create infrastructure such as roads and canals in order to promote trade. Now, while I think my plan is pretty great, as you should too, it's rather controversial amongst the states. While the North and West are in favor due to my protective tariffs and infrastructure, the South does not like my plan at all, especially not my tariffs. They're kind of off doing their own thing at this point. I'll be separate from the rest of the country, but hey, at least my plans will likely get approved and take off with both the West and the North. So yes, I hope to create a better future for our country.
Constructive use of our nation's money! Surely it will do us well, helping promote trade and creating a huge manufacturing economy. Now, we have our special guest. You know him well, Captain Meriweather Lewis. He led the mission to explore trade routes and ways our country could expand. Now, let's hear his take on the expansion in Great North America. And here he comes in his boat.
Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Thank you, sir. So, during my expedition, I saw many new places throughout the Louisiana Territory. But when I returned home, I learned that expansion didn't just increase our land. It highlighted the regional differences on the views of the federal government. In the West, the people need the aid of the federal government to build roads and infrastructure and the military for protection against natives. In the North, people support the federal government because it boosts their economy and their trade and manufacturing. Now down in the South, people are concerned that the expansion is going to limit the amount of slavery and it's going to weaken their political influence in the government. These ideas are evident of the clash of differing views across our nation. Another issue that is present with expansion is what happens to the native peoples of the land. Now, when is our country going to break out of its sectionalist views and become one true country? Well, what's it going to take? Is it going to take a civil war, a world war, a depression, another world war, a cold war, a terrorist attack? Or will our country always remain divided because that's what makes us America? One nation where people from every corner of the earth is welcome and debates are encouraged because when we collaborate, we can do anything.
It was great to hear from Meriweather Lewis. The power of our country has to spread its wings and take what's rightfully ours away from the natives. It's truly fascinating. Am I right, guys?
Yeah!
Well, anyways, that's the end of our news for today. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you found it informational and enjoyable as always. Well, we have a special song that is going to be shared with us today from our sports reporter, Alex.
I'm getting scholarships to King's College. The problem is I got a lot of breaks and no college.
No.